Hello and welcome to my 2023 reading journal setup. In this video, I will go through all of these spreads that I made for 2023, and then I will also be doing a side-by-side comparison of my 2022 reading journal versus this year coming up and all of the differences that I have made. And then lastly, I will be doing a flip through of my January spreads. And then let's go ahead and get started. For 2023, I am using the Notebook Therapy Journal, and I got it in a B5 this year, and it is very pretty. It has this gold foiling on the sides and on the front, and lastly on the back. And it is much bigger than the one that I used last year. Last year I used an A5, and then that journal was from Scribble and Dot. I did enjoy using that one, but I just thought it would be so much more fun to get a much larger journal. Now let's go ahead and get this open. In the back, it has this quote that says, "If you listen carefully, you'll hear magic growing in the peaceful forest." I will be doing a quick flip through of all of these spreads that I've made for my 2023 reading journal, just as something at a glance, and then I will leave timestamps below as well so that you can go ahead and flip through these on your own or save them for later or take any screenshots or anything like that. But I will just do this quick flip through first, and then that way I will go into detail on how I made each page and what they mean and how to fill them out yourself. Okay, so let's go ahead and start from the beginning. I wanted to make the cover page a tarot card, and I made it as the reader. And then I just did a self-portrait of myself and a portrait of my cat. And then my idea was to make from here down black and white, and then everything that touches the book would be in color and everything that doesn't would be in black and white. But I started at the shirt and I made that black and white, and my cat black and white, and the background. But I took a break after that, and then when I came back to it, I started coloring in the pants. And then I realized, oh no, I did that in color. So I just decided that that was how it was going to be. And so I colored in the arms, but I left everything else as black and white around the tarot card. So when the book touches the tarot card itself, it is in color. And at the top of the card, I did the year in Roman numerals. And then we go into my goals. This spread is used as a book at a glance, so that way I can see everything all at once based on my goals. And then this page is used more as a reference sheet to my bookshelf and a way to see my goals all at once and how well I've been doing keeping up with them. And then I did this bookshelf as sort of a secret passageway, so I did it as a Dutch door. And when I go through and fill out these goals, I will put in little check marks on each box. And then my goals for this year are women of color, LGBT rep, nonfiction, 1 book a week for a month. My physical TBR will go there. Places to read, I will put like a park, a museum, in the car, so on and so forth. And then I have my series tracker here. In 2022, I've read the first book for a lot of series, but I never kept up with them. So I'm hoping in 2023, I will actually finish any series. And then I have a spot for my book club books and the books I bought during 2023. And then I have a percentage tracker here. So for my entire 2023, I plan on reading 46 books. So when I have read like 3 books, I will put in check marks like these little boxes. And then when I reach like 3 or 4 or 5, I know that if I read 5 of them, it's 10% of my entire goal. or if I read 10 of them, that's 21% of my entire goal. And then it's just a cool way for me to look back and see how well I did at reaching my goals. And then for these little doors, I just glued where the hinges would be and drew on where the cabinets. And then on the inside, I put a reference sheet to what colors would go for which book. And then that way I can just see everything at a glance and I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. And then for the actual photos on the shelf, they are books that I either have on my shelf or 5-star reads from 2022. And I really like how these came out. I will put the references of the books up in the corner. That way you can just see what type of books I was going for. But those were my 5-star reads and I really like how it came out. It's kind of abstract, but it makes this bookshelf really personal to me based on my reads or the crochet up in the corner or my little cat down at the bottom. And then we go into my challenges. So this is my alphabet challenge. I am going to be posting little photos of the book covers from each book that I read that fit in the categories. So this one is A Man Called Ove. So I will put that in the A's because it starts with an A. And then for the background, I will just color that in. For this one, I will do like a light blue gray-ish color. But when I look back at this, it will be completely colored in. And it'll just be a bright and beautiful spread to look back on. And then we go into my Read the Rainbow challenge. So for this one, I will also be printing out the covers for the book. Obviously, this one doesn't fit anywhere here, but just for reference. So this way I can see multiple books that I've read in that color. And then at the end of the year, I can see which color I've read the most of. And I just like that sort of feel to it. And then my last challenge is my reading bingo. This spread is very simple, but it's lots of fun to fill out. And it makes a very colorful spread when it's all done. So here I will write down my choice of book. I will draw a circle around it and then just color it in as if it is a bingo dauber. And then when I make a bingo either way, I will write down bingo and I will write down the day that I achieved it. And then I will write down blackout if I end up creating a entire blackout. And I will just put a close-up here so that way you can take any ideas for your own squares. And then going into the next spread, this is the books I've read. And then this is everything all at a glance for 2023. And the way that these will be filled in are by star ratings. And then I just have a cheat sheet here at the right. And then in these drawers are completely empty. So that way, if I read more than my goal of 46 books, I can go ahead and just draw in new books here. This way, there isn't any pressure of trying to achieve more books than my goal. And if I do end up reaching it, then it's just a plus, and I will go ahead and hide them down here. Then the next spread is my 5-star reads. This page is exactly the same as last year. I will just write in the book that I give 5 stars. And then this spread is my annuals. So on the left here, I have a bookcase meant to show how many books I read per month. So I will go ahead and just fill in at the end of the month what books I read in January and color them in lime green, February in this yellow, and March in this blue, so on and so forth. That way I can just see how many books I've read over the year. And then I will do a year at a glance. So if I read January 1st, I will color that in, and then I will color it in either pink, green, or orange. And those are just based off of if it was an audiobook, a physical book, or an ebook. And then lastly, we are going into my trackers. So this is my genre tracker. I have it scheduled out for every month, and then there are different genres depending on which one I've read. And then I left 3 blank slots at the bottom. So we have mystery, thriller, fantasy, sci-fi, mangas, graphic novels, romance, historical, classics, nonfiction, science, and self-help. And then on the right we have my totals for the year. And then I will just go ahead and do a little close-ups for each of these pages. And then we have my yearly stats. So it's the exact same as last year. We just have my books read, pages, 5 stars, audio versus physical, library versus owned, female author versus male author. And then the same thing on the right, we just have my totals all together. So each month I will put in my stats, and then at the end of the year I will add them all up for the totals. And then we're going into the last spread for my 2023 reading journal. We have my star rating scale up at the top. I just did them in sort of paint chips that you would get from any local hardware store. So they are in color swatches based on my star ratings. So for 5 stars, I did them in yellow, and then 4 for pink, green for 3, 2 is orange, and 1 is purple. And they're all just different shades of that color. And then for where the name would go for like a different color of paint, I put it as different ratings that I would give it. And then I will do a close-up of each of them. That way you can see them all together and what I mean by the names and ratings. And then for the bottom section, I did a grid spacing guide. I figured I didn't need to take up an entire page to make this. And I like how it came out, so that way my entire references are all on one page, including these book covers. But here is the close-ups. And then on the right side, I have a blank space for my end of the year awards or any stats that I want to put in at the end of the year. And then we will be going into a comparison of my 2023 journal and my 2022 journal. Just things that I did differently and things that I like or disliked from the year before. If you want to see how I made this, I will put it up in the cards. For my 2022 journal, it came with this beautiful key and index, but I decided not to put it in 2023 because it just wasn't that useful to me. And then in 2022, I printed out the books that I read at a glance. Also didn't do that for 2023. It was just much too hard to keep up with, and it wasn't that rewarding for me. Then I have my grid and reference at the front instead of at the back. And then we have my 2022 goal page. So this page is significantly different in 2023. Just in 2022, I didn't know what I wanted out of this spread. And I had seen somebody make this spread just like this, and I thought that was perfect, but turns out it wasn't perfect for me. I like seeing the goals at a glance, but I just wish that there was a place to know how I was keeping up with those goals and how many books I was reading in those sections and so on and so forth. So I feel like I did a pretty good job about keeping up with that in 2023. And now I'll be able to see how well I did keeping up with those and having individual boxes for each individual goal and having a bookshelf for the goals at a glance as well. Then we have the difference of my physical to be read shelf. I do like how I made it in 2022, but I did like also having it as a goal on my goals page for 2023. It's just much more simple. If I had the space, I would probably make it like 2022 again. And then going into the next spread is my year in pixels. So something I really don't like with my 2022 journal is that everything is scattered everywhere, All of my spreads are not in order. In 2023, I have these tabs just categorizing everything, which makes it so much easier and so much nicer to look at. So something I changed for my year-end pixels is that last year in 2022, I had it as 2 spreads. I'm not sure why I did this. So I had one for format, and then I had one for the days that I read. But if you notice, they're both filled in the exact same, except one is in a different color. And it just doesn't make sense to have a duplicate. I am just wasting a spread here. So I decided for 2023 that I was only going to have one, and I will just fill it in based on the audiobook, physical or ebook, because no matter what I read that day. And then we go into my books on a shelf. These are all colored based on my star ratings. And I have this page in 2023 that I will fill in based on star ratings. And they are significantly different, but I like both of them. And then we go into my Goodreads challenge. So I completely skipped this page when we were doing the walkthrough, but there is big differences from this year and last. So last year, I had this key for whatever genre I read it as, and I would fill in the colors, but there's not enough colors to do as many genres as I want, and it was just a pain to keep up with because all the blues are too close to each other, or I had to do slashes that for a different genre that is not on this key, and it just wasn't as satisfying as I thought it was going to be. So in 2023, I decided to skip the colors altogether, and I will just color them in one color as I read each book, and I will put the total read at the bottom. And then for the next spread in my journal was the 5-star reads. And for 2023, it is exactly the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The only thing that I changed was the headers. And that was it. I love this spread. So whenever anybody asks me for any recommendations, I just ask, what is your favorite genre? And then I scroll through my little list here. And then I just pick out a book that I would recommend. And I like having these all at a glance. And then going into the next spread is my yearly statistics. Again, this journal is just completely out of order. I would put genre first and then yearly, like I did in 2023. But so far they are exactly the same in 2023. And then my next spread is the Read the Rainbow challenge. So this spread I really enjoyed. If you have a smaller goal to reach, or if you think that you're not going to be able to finish this challenge. As for myself, I didn't like that there was only one spot to put in a book, and that's why in 2023 I decided to make larger spaces so that I can just put in as many colorful books as I want. And then going into my next spread was the alphabet challenge. This spread I liked because it was easy and easy to fill in. And then it is completely different than my alphabet challenge for 2023. Just for 2023, it'll be more colorful and I'll have all the book covers all at a glance. And then the next spread is my reading bingo. This spread is completely the same as 2023. I love how this turned out. I love seeing all the bingos. So I just kept it the exact same. The next spread is the words I've learned while reading. I liked making this spread and I think that it's very cute to look at and something to reflect on, but I didn't make it in my 2023 journal just because I listen to a lot more audiobooks than I do physical, and I don't really write down any words from an audiobook. And the last spread in my 2022 journal is the libraries I have visited this year. I have visited more than these, but I decided not to put this in my 2023 journal just because it was so hard to keep up with. But I do love looking back at it. And funny story, these books are actually in my goals page. So I doodled them in right there because they are on my shelf. And they are also on my bookshelf in my journal. And then this is a sneak peek of next week's video. This is my husband's 2023 reading journal. This is also a notebook therapy journal. It has these beautiful gold etchings on either side. And then I will just go ahead and do a cute little sneak peek of his. But if you want to see this one, go ahead and subscribe, and then that way you can see it next week. And for the last portion of this video, I will be doing a flip through of my January spreads. So for the first page, it is the reading tracker, and I divided it by method and time. So on the left is my physical, audio, and ebooks, and then I will just draw in a little dot if I read in whatever section or method that way. And then at the bottom is a reference for time. So we have 0 or 30 to 60 minutes, 60 minutes to 180, and then 3 hours plus. So I will go ahead and color in those boxes based on the time that I've read. On the next page is my TBR, or my to be reads. I have them categorized by library holds, physical, and hopefullys. And then I will go ahead and put 2 books on each of those. And on the right, I have the books I've read, and I will just put in the book cover that I've read. And then at the bottom of that, I will go ahead and write down my star rating for it. The next spread is meant for my January favorites. So on the left hand side, we have my quote page, and then on the blank spaces, I will put in a label that says whatever the book was in accordance to that quote. And then on the right hand side, I have my most surprising, which I will write there. And then on this line, I will write the book that it is for. And then I will put the book cover as the best book. And then on the bottom portion, I will write in my favorite character. Then for my last January spread is my stats and totals. I like seeing all of these at a glance. And then they are just divided by, oh no, I forgot to write my star ratings. I will go ahead and fix that. But I have female versus male, white versus person of color, and then I have my audio versus physicals, my LGBT rep, my library versus owned, and my genres. So for genres, I will color it in as a pie chart, and I will write the genre right next to it. Then I have my published dates. Those I will also fill in all together as a bar graph. And then we have my totals. So we have 5-star read, my days that I've read, books I've read, and how many pages in total. So this is just a fun way for me to look back at my January spreads. And I always enjoy just looking at these stats in general. So if you want to see me fill this out, go ahead and subscribe, and I will post a video of me filling it out, or in relation to my February spreads. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and leave any comments or questions that you have, and I will go ahead and see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.